So, April 14th, 2015, The Ochelli Effect. I'm your host, Chuck Ochelli, here on UCY.TV radio. And, of course, I want to thank everybody who is tuning in, coming along on their applicable applications of choice on their fondle slab. Whoop, there we go, tripping over with the tongue right away. Oh, it's going to be one of those nights. Maybe. Anyway, on your applicable application through your fondle slab of choice, or if you've just simply gone to ucy.tv/TOE, I do appreciate you tuning in. Okay, I'm going to get real intentional and try to enunciate as properly as possible. Dear Lord. Okay, moving on. I want to thank everybody who has contributed all of their feedback to the recent shows. At some point this week, we will cover some of the recaps and things like that, probably on Thursday. Also on Saturday, Renegade Smith will be on for an interesting interview. I don't know how that's going to go, but hey, it can't be any more strange than the Jaded shows go here on Saturday night, so it is what it is. Anyway, of course, tonight it is Tuesday, so therefore, we do know that Roger Landry will be joining me in the first hour, because 9 times out of 10, Roger Landry does join me, and it is an absolute privilege to have him on. In the second hour, Dylan Wade, and we'll get back into some of those odd stories from the Blackboard jungle. And I shiver. Because the education system, what's left of the brains of the students that are there, and exactly what it is like to deal with the debates in a history class are extremely fascinating, revolting, and somewhat frightening. So we'll see what Dylan has to say in the second hour. Of course, I never rehearse or script this show, but the first part of every Tuesday night usually has a serious purpose. And of course, Roger Landry of The Liberty Beacon, and that is The Liberty Beacon, all one word, .com, is of course my first guest. He is the founding main man who also does those rants, those TLB specials. I don't know how he has time to pump out the amount of articles, radio shows, and I also know about a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff that nobody will ever hear or see about. And man, oh man, I don't know how one guy does what he does. But how you doing tonight, Roger?
I'm doing quite well. And, you know, for somebody who's claiming you're tripping all over your tongue, your speech is quite eloquent, my friend.
Yeah, every once in a while I almost sound professional, don't I?
Well, I never strive to sound professional, but I do strive to sound the truth with a lot of volume, a lot of angst, and emphasis on the truth.
Yeah, see, but as a supporting commentator on so many different extremely important issues, I feel as though I must have some eloquence and some sort of a cadence that seems attractive to a listener, because after all, we do have to sort of be entertaining while we are passing along this information, because, even the most intelligent individual, when they sit and they drone on in a lecture hall, puts the most interested student to sleep. And this is not a lecture hall where you're trapped, you've already paid your money, and it's too late. This is a place where you can choose to go, you can turn it off, you can do what you want. So the thing is, I want to try
Well,
to...
you talk about an era of entertainment, and I do understand that. And you are, as far as I'm concerned, a very well-spoken individual, and that in itself lends a little bit of an entertainment factor. With me, it's just the opposite. I scream, I holler, I drool, I spit all over my monitor. I get so hot you can fry an egg on my head, and I guess that would be my entertainment quotient. But we all do it in a different way. But the one thing that matters, the one thing it all comes down to is, are we getting an effective message out?
Well, right, and that's the thing. I do see the need for what you do, and believe me, I feel like doing what you do generally. Okay, but it's just that I always, because I spent so much time trying to be an entertainer and trying to actually making a living at it. I wasn't trying, I just wasn't extremely famous or anything. You had to be conscious of your audience. If you wanted to put a piece of art or a piece of information, or you wanted to be supportive of a cause, it was always necessary to be conscious, of your ability to engage that audience, because you could have the most important message in the world, you could have the greatest information in the world, you could be telling people the right thing for the right reason at the right time, and something that they need to know, and if they're not listening, it is all for naught. So to me, it seems as though it behooves all of us in the alternative media to sometimes try to present ourselves in different ways so that there is an eclectic mix, but also in the most engaging, manner that we can conjure up personally. So,
Well, not only do I agree with you, but let's take that into different aspects. Okay, if you want somebody to notice an article, say on the social media, there are literally hundreds of thousands of articles thrown, millions of articles thrown on there every day that people look at, and they get so used to seeing so many links in front of their face that they consciously ignore a vast majority of them. So if you want something to really catch someone's eye, then you make up a pretty picture or an eye-catching picture. Once you've caught their eye, then it's very, very easy to go to the next step, which is to catch their attention.
right.
I think the same thing translates over to doing a radio show, whereby you have to have some air, and I don't want to use the word gimmick, but it does apply so well here. Some gimmick, whether it is eloquent speech, whether it is a very, very deep falsetto voice, or whether it is someone like me who just goes nuts and rants.
Right.
But we all have to grab that attention before the effectiveness of the message can even come into play.
Well, right, and that's why I was going to say, even in your case, the great graphic work you do and the memes that you put together and stuff like that, they're extremely well done. I mean, if somebody was being paid to do each one, it would make sense because they're so well put together. The text stands out, the photograph is interesting, there's always, an interesting message, there's always the trademark to continue continuity. This is what I'm talking about. So your visual presentation, is with all of that in mind, that you want to capture that audience, you want to capture the open audience, and that is, see, and this is funny because I do stuff like this on my show where it's like, you know what, let's talk about what the real behind-the-scenes mechanism, the thinking really is. Okay? So
Yeah.
I'm sorry I kind of diverged into this area, but I think this is an important thing to say, is that, you know what, we're all trying, and, most of us, without ever even receiving a penny for it, are out here trying to get the good information out to people, and this is the important thing. Now, the presentation in some cases, the reason why I'm always so hyper conscious of my conscience of my voice and all of that, and my cadence and my and my eloquence and my pronunciation, my enunciation, et cetera, is because professionally I spent a lot of time as a vocalist. So I don't sing anymore after the throat surgery, but I'm still conscious that tones, cadence, different pauses, everything can be the one thing that actually grabs the mind of the listener. And so therefore, this is my expression. For you, it's creating the visual aids, it's creating the articles, and those
And
visual aids drive people.
hollering and drooling.
Well, that's on top of it, right? See, sometimes I go into humor too, and I use all
Yes.
kinds of crazy humor, which people, some people get offended and angry, whatever. But you know what? I've got them thinking. And that was the point of that humor, generally speaking, right? So we all
Yes.
use different mechanisms based on our backgrounds. We're all coming together from all different backgrounds. And that's the beautiful thing about this. When you see people that are actually trying to come together and utilizing their different existing skill sets and trying to learn new ones in order to make things run.
Well, if you have a group of individuals who all have the exact same skill, the exact same level of knowledge, the exact same everything, what you have is a vanilla organization. The ideal organization is made up of multiple colors. The ideal visual presentation is made up of multiple shades or multiple colors.
Right.
So, an ideal organization, in my eyes, which the Liberty Beacon Project I feel is tending towards or trending towards quite well, is a bunch of individuals all with a different background, a different level of knowledge, a different skill set for presenting that knowledge. And when you take each and every one as an individual, they have perfected that unto themselves. But when you put them together, it's not additive. You're talking about something that increases on an exponential level. So, yes,
Right.
I do believe in diversity, and I believe in the necessity of diversity.
Right. And this is the last example I'm going to use, and then, of course, I'm going to segue into what it is we're really going to talk about, which I've already dropped the link in the chat room for those that are there to the article we're going to discuss tonight. Like, for instance, when Randy Morgans and I are on the air together, which is a rare occurrence, but when it does happen, right, there is a totally different delivery going on. There's a totally different mood going on. Yet Randy is one of the most brilliant people I have encountered.
Oh, he's great. Oh, he's a great radio announcer, great talk show host. My God.
Right.
Yeah.
He's a great radio announcer, but you can tell that his posture is not like mine. You can tell that you are not going to confuse me for him. There's no way.
No.
Okay, and of course you wouldn't confuse me for you either. That's why the show that we did, what was it?
The three of us. Yes.
Laying out the mission statement against programmed ignorance is such an interesting listen because you can hear the different layers of what's going on there. And of course, I didn't get to say much, but that's fine.
Actually, you did. And what you said made a lot of sense. Which, to me, again, if the message is delivered, it doesn't matter whether it's delivered in 5 words or 50 words, as long as the message is delivered. Randy, I would say I'm the most vocal when it comes to how many words I use to explain something. Randy sits right in the middle, and you sit on the other end of the spectrum. I believe that you use the least amount of words to get the most effective message across, whereas I'll beat it to death.
Right. But the thing is, all of these techniques are quite valid. Now, something that, of course, is along this giant spectrum of the programmed ignorance, the programmed and enforced dumbing down of a country, the destruction of cognitive skill sets everywhere is something we're going to talk about tonight.
Oh, I wrote this article. As a matter of fact, I had 2 articles for today. One I had written last week and one I had just finished up. And you chose to do the one I had just finished up, which I have barely published that. And it's all, my computer's bleeping constantly with comments and feedback. And it's all positive. I have not had one negative comment on this article yet. And for the topic, that's rather strange because there's a lot of people out there who are so ignorant of the facts, not stupid, but ignorant of the facts, that they believe that anybody who's going to discuss what I'm going to discuss tonight has got to be one of those tinfoil hat wearing idiots.
Okay,
But
now,
I
now I'm going to tell
promise
you
you,
why. I'm going to tell you why I selected it, Roger. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but here's the reason.
why I do it to you all the time.
That's true, but here's the reason. In North Carolina, which is the state I live in, there was just recently an attempt in the state here among the assembly to discontinue the exemption under religious purposes. Okay, and they of course were not just doing that, but that was the bullet point of the bill they were trying to pass. They
Right.
were going to try to slip in mandatory vaccinations by color of law. Okay,
Yes. And
that
they're
is
doing it in California right now.
yes, they are. They will likely succeed in California, but they did.
Well, not
They
if we
did
can help it.
not if we can help it. But generally speaking, to be honest with you, Roger, I see the possibility of their success there to be much higher than it was here. And
Gee,
of
are
course,
you trying to tell me that a vast majority of Californians, and I've lived in California 3 times in my life, are all bleeding heart liberals?
well, no, because I won't say that, but I
Well,
will.
they are.
A lot of them are. But you know what's funny is the most support that I get from the continental United States seems to come from the state of California.
Oh, there's a lot of damn good patriots in California.
There sure as hell is. And there are people that are very interested in a lot of the things and very supportive. In fact, the only two donations that I have received to my cause, as it were, in recent times, both came from California. In fact, I want to thank Frank tonight, who I don't think he gave me permission to give his last name out on the air, but I want to thank Frank for his donation today. Okay, but the thing is, those the interactions, the emails, the feedback, the actual, people getting upset and caring about what the things that I talk about on this show come a lot of times from the West Coast. Even though when I lived out there for a brief period of time, I found it like it felt like another planet to me. But even so, there are very good
Yeah,
people there. You can't judge the entire apple orchard by one barrel that you happen to have laid eyes on or one bucket, okay?
I agree.
So that's the way it is, and it's causing me to reevaluate my position on California, to be honest with you.
Well,
But
like I said, I've lived there 3 times, and each time in a different area, and I got a different perspective of California each time. I love California, and I literally hate what's being done to it at this point in time, but that would be a totally different show. And this is a bit extensive, this article that I wrote, so I don't want to go off on a totally different track at this
no,
point.
I'm sorry, but the point I brought up about this is that in North Carolina recently they attempted to remove the religious exemption. There were other things built into the proposal that would have caused further. To me, it would have furthered the agenda of forcing vaccinations.
Further
Okay,
erosion of our rights.
and further erosion of our rights in general, but specifically on vaccinations. And this is the thing. This actually caused me to begin to imagine to move from this state immediately. Because, as you know, I have a very young son. He's just about 9.5 months old, and ahead of my other children who were both vaccinated, because I did not know better at the time. He is unvaccinated, okay, and he is able to stand. He is able to start to take steps. The boy is hungry at the time. His eyes are lit. He is alive completely. And that's something I never saw in either one of my older children, I mean to say. And this is very personal to me, and this is why I selected this article as opposed to the other one, just so you know.
Okay, would you like me to get into this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, first off, I want to give a small preface here. I am not today going to be beating up all of the individual mechanisms of damage that vaccines can do. I will touch on it rather lightly, but we have a different topic to discuss today. And this is more along the lines of human rights as well as American rights and freedoms. The name of the article is pretty much self-explanatory. If you don't know what SB 277 is, that is the bill that is going to be voted on in California that will make it mandatory for you or your children to be vaccinated, all the way up to and including police, armed police coming in and taking your children and force vaccinating them if this law passes. So the name of the article, and I really want to get into this because it's a bit extensive, is SB 277, The Road to Farmageddon. Of course, that's a play on words, Armageddon with the PH added to the front of it, meaning pharma, Farmageddon. So, and I've got a tickle today, so bear with me if I clear my throat a little bit more than I usually do.
No problem. If you ever need a moment, just kind of just say, "Excuse me a moment," and I will gladly fill in the space.
Well, I'll try to mute myself out if I need to cough into the mic.
Okay.
But here we go. Okay, it is the entire article is captioned, or right at the top there is a meme that says "Forced Vaccination: The Road to Farmageddon," and right below it is a quote: "If the people let government decide what foods they eat and what medicines they take, their bodies will soon be in as sorry a state as are the souls of those who live under tyranny." This was Thomas Jefferson. This was almost 250 years ago. So I don't know if he had a crystal ball, but let's get into this article. With respect to California's SB 277, once a precedent of medical tyranny has been set, it is fated to spread. We as a nation stand on a precipice of medical and political tyranny. When a government can force medication into the bodies of we the people and our most vulnerable children without our consent, what makes them any less guilty than those put to death by the Nuremberg trials for crimes against humanity? Now, before you push back on that, let's get into this article, because I'm going to show you just how applicable that opening comment is. Okay? If you think the above, meaning the above in the article, a harsh statement, let's look at the facts. Vaccines are scientifically proven to have side effects, ranging from mild to catastrophic. These are facts stated on the government's own websites. This is not a guess. Nothing I'm going to be telling you today is exaggerated or a guess. Okay, these effects may include anything from a mild rash, a compromised immune system, sterility, cognitive dysfunction, which is brain damage, paralysis, to death, and many more proven issues not mentioned here. We are constantly being told by the healthcare personnel we trust that the chances of vaccine damage is less than 1 in a million. Yet statistics prove over and over again that this is an erroneous and massively understated statement or number, with the actual occurrences of harm caused by vaccines being magnitudes higher and much more common. Even with the cases reported being well in excess of the laughable quoted statement above, we must also consider that the CDC itself states that as few as 10% of vaccine damage incidents are ever reported as such, making the actual total, by necessity, magnitudes higher than what we are made aware of via the CDC or the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, VAERS. Now let's consider that the vaccine court, the ICP, in this country has paid out already well over $3 billion in damages. And this is only to a very small percentage of possible claimants who actually get their cases heard and can prove damage to a known biased system of supposed justice. So how rare can vaccine damage actually be? When all is said and done, we the people, more every day, are painfully aware of the frequency and magnitude of vaccine damage. With the many known side effects and no long-term proven efficacy or harm study on vaccines ever accomplished or commissioned by this government or the CDC that we are aware of or we've been made aware of in over a century of use in the USA, because we've been vaccinated now for over a century in this country. By default, how can this be considered anything more than medical experimentation? If you have no proof via this government, no study ever conducted in over a century of exposure to this mechanism of its validity, of its efficacy, or of its long-term damage, then what we're talking about by definition is medical experimentation, because it's not a proven mechanism, period. Anybody who doesn't understand that, you're an idiot. I've just defined it for you perfectly. They have never, ever proven the efficacy or the long-term danger, ever, scientifically, of the mechanism of vaccines. So by default, they have to be defined as medical experimentation. Now let's go from that point, because here's where we start to build to the crescendo. Okay? How soon we forget. The Nuremberg trials were where 23 defendants, all medical doctors, were accused of having been involved in horrors of Nazi human experimentation procedures and exposures without the consent of those experimented on. The trial lasted 8 months, from December 9th, 1946 to August 20th, 1947. Of the 23 defendants, 5 were acquitted, 7 received death sentences, and the remaining received prison sentences ranging from 10 years to life in prison. Those sentenced to death were hanged on June 2nd, 1948 in Landsberg Prison, Bavaria. All right. What resulted was the 10 points of the Nuremberg Code. Of these 10 points, several of them are most germane to this discussion. Those being the voluntary, number one, Nuremberg Code, point number one, and these come straight from the Nuremberg Code, word for word. The voluntary consent of the human subject is absolutely essential. This means that the person involved should have legal capacity to give consent, should be so situated as to be able to exercise free power of choice without the intervention of any element or force, fraud, deceit, duress, overreaching, or other ulterior form of constraint or coercion, and should have sufficient knowledge and comprehension of the elements of the subject matter involved as to enable him or her to make an understanding and enlightened decision. This latter element requires that before the acceptance of an affirmative decision by the experimental subject, there should be made known to him the nature, duration, and the purpose of the experiment, the method and the means by which it is to be conducted, all inconveniences and hazards reasonable to be expected, and the effects upon his health or person which may possibly come from his participation in the experiment. The duty, responsibility, for ascertaining the quality of the consent rests upon each individual who initiates, directs, or engages in the experiment. It is a personal duty and responsibility which may not be delegated to others with impunity. That was number one. Number 5 is the next one. Remember, there's 10. I only picked the ones that were most germane. The next one is Nuremberg Code number 5. No experiment should be conducted where there is a prior reason to believe that death or disabling injury will occur, except perhaps in those experiments where the experimental physicians also serve as subjects. In other words, do unto others as you would do unto yourself.
Yeah.
Nuremberg Code number 7. Proper preparation should be made and adequate facilities provided to protect the experimental subject against even remote possibilities of injury, disability, or death. Nuremberg Code point number 9. During the course of the experiment, the human subject should be at liberty to bring the experiment to an end if he has reached the physical or mental state where continuation of the experiment seems to him to be impossible. Number 10. and this is the final point in the Nuremberg Code. Number 10, during the course of the experiment, the scientists in charge must, okay, be prepared to terminate the experiment at any stage if he has probable cause to believe, okay, in the exercise of the good faith, superior skill, and careful judgment required of him that the continuation of the experiment is likely to result in injury, disability, death, or death to the experimental subject. Now, right under that, I put a statement saying, read the above 5 points again and understand their applicability. I'm not going to read them over again, but basically what we're saying is you have to have consent. If you're not willing to put yourself in the same line of danger, don't put anybody else into it. If they don't wish to participate, you can't force them to. At any point, if they wish to back away from it, you have to allow them to. And at any point, if the scientist or the doctors feel that this is unethical, then this should be stopped. Okay? And it also states that every possible known danger to this participant must be made available to them. Now, remember what I just said. Please remember what I just said, because this is what I'm stating. With forced or mandated vaccinations, the known side effects of vaccines and the lack of full or true disclosure prior to the application and the denial of cover-up or known causality, all of these points were grossly violated. Anybody who can't see that is an idiot, because it is so black and white, it's insane. Now, okay, tell me how any of this tyranny. Now, here's where we get into something very blatant. Some of you will initially draw back from this, but I dare you to find fault in what I'm about to say. I dare you. I don't challenge you. I dare you. Okay? Now, tell me how any of this tyranny differs from handing a parent, okay, a 6-shot revolver and forcing them to point it at their or their child's head and partake in a session of Russian roulette. Sure, the 1 in 6 odds with revolver are not quite as bad with respect to vaccines, but there is a possibility, admitted by the government, admitted by the FDA, admitted by the USDA, admitted by the CDC, of death resulting from vaccines or permanent harm. And a lot of it. And I explained that to you in the opening, okay? But I dare anyone here to explain how the principle is not exactly the same as handing a parent, okay, a revolver and forcing them to put it to their head or their child's head and participate in Russian roulette. It is exactly the same thing. Exactly. Okay? Now,
well, not only that, but Roger, more specifically, just real quickly, this is my point that I continuously stand on, is that the babies, the babies who are completely awash in this stuff, if you follow directions, they have no ability to consent. So it's a moot point. All of these points of consent, ability to withdraw, everything is gone.
That's parental consent, and that is what is being robbed. That is one of the biggest points of this discussion here. Okay? And before everybody calms down, I need to get through this paragraph here because it leads straight from what I just said. Okay? Yes. Mm-hmm. All right? So let me reiterate that again to get you all back in the right frame of mind. Okay? And actually, I'm going to read this paragraph again because it all has to be read in total for this point to get across. Okay? Now tell me how, okay, or why any of this tyranny differs from handing a parent a 6-shot revolver and forcing them to point it at their child's head and partake in a session of, or their head, and partake in a session of Russian roulette. Sure, the 1 in 6 odds are not quite as bad with respect to vaccines, but I dare anyone to explain how the principle is not exactly the same. Armed with the proper knowledge in full, which no parent is ever given all of the vital statistics on vaccine damage, ever. We started this off by stating that when you ask your doctor what the dangers of vaccine damage are, 99% of them will tell you it's less than 1 in a million, which is the biggest lie they could ever tell you. Okay? Armed with the proper knowledge in full, would you acquiesce readily or willingly to the above scenario? Wouldn't you at least want the choice of whether or not to partake or subject your vulnerable child to this? Wouldn't you want that choice? In California, which, if it passes there, believe me, it will start to march across this country, SB 277 takes that right away. Your children will be vaccinated if the police have to come and take them out of your house by gunpoint and vaccinate them. All of the points above speak directly to the requirement of freedom of choice by the Nuremberg Code. Okay? By the subject, all of it speaks to the requirement of freedom and choice by the subject and a high standard of morals and ethics by those conducting the experiment. We've already proven that the vaccine schedule in this country today is medical experimentation because it's never been proven that it's dangerous or its efficacy. In 100 years, this government has never done a study to prove its efficacy. So it is, by default, medical experimentation. Something totally lacking, which is your freedom of choice and the high ethical and moral standards, is totally lacking in forced or mandated vaccines. This is just a fact. It's not open for discussion. By everything I've told you, based on absolute fact, these are all direct violations of the points of the Nuremberg Code I read to you. And I strongly suggest you to take that link from the chat room and go through it and beat it up as badly as you can and try and find fault with it. I dare you to. There is no fault in it. But this brings me to a recent quote, okay? I didn't make this quote. And you might be surprised at the end when I tell you who made it. But here's the quote. All of the barriers that are meant to protect our children, the government, the lawyers, the regulatory agencies, the press, the checks and balances of our democratic system that are supposed to stand between corporate power and our little children have been removed. And there's only one barrier left, and that's the parents. And we need to keep that in the equation. And this is a direct quote from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Everything above, everything I've stated to you is a fact, easily proven via historical documentation, peer-reviewed studies, many linked on TLB's website, or the government's own health agency websites, such as the CDC, VAERS, or VICP. Nothing is made up. Nothing is exaggerated. Okay, so do I have your attention now? If we the people do not stand together and make our voices heard in this crucial matter, the end result can only be a government who owns our bodies and can do whatever they please with them. If you feel the tyranny will stop at this point, once a precedent has been set, you're a fool. We the people must stand together, speak in a unified voice, and live free of medical tyranny. Wow. That's a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
There is a video attached. I strongly suggest, and I put in huge bold letters above the video that says, this must be seen. Please watch that short video. It will back up everything I've just told you, but I don't need anybody to back up anything I said. Everything I said is based on the Nuremberg Code, the CDC, the EPA, the FDA, the USDA, the government's own information, VAERS information, VICP information. Everything I told you comes straight from the horse's mouth. So, If you take the information the government has put out in bits over here and pieces over there, and you put them together in one spot, what they scream is that by forcing us to get vaccinated and by making vaccines mandatory, that's exactly what it is. It's forced vaccination. This government or any state government that passes these mandates is in direct violation of the Nuremberg Code. If one child or one adult dies because they did not have the choice to refuse a medical procedure in this country, that is premeditated murder. But thousands, tens of thousands, over the last 100 years, millions have died or suffered a life of severe damage as a result of vaccines. Who has gone to prison? Who has been put on trial? Where are the Nuremberg trials of the United States of America? Anybody who feels that anything I'm saying is wrong, I dare you to prove anything I just said, even the slightest exaggeration. You can't.
But Roger, we do have the vaccine injury, fund.
Vaccine Injury Court. I discussed that. That's VICP.
I know.
And when we're talking millions of children being damaged every decade, millions of adults and children, we're talking maybe 0.1% of them ever get heard by the court. A small portion of them ever get an award, but they've already paid out over $3 billion in awards. Let's talk about vaccine damage being extremely rare. Poppycock.
Yeah, and cost effective too, because the $3 billion paid out dwarfs the actual monetary damage that has been done.
Well, all of these children that do have vaccine damage, in a lot of cases, the insurance won't cover it. And even if the insurance does cover it, you have deductibles, you have co-pays. How much money has been sucked out of the coffers of the average person on the street in this country to support a child and keep a child who is medically damaged for life, whether it's autism, whether it's severe food allergies, whether it is any cognitive dysfunction, autoimmune dysfunction. We live in the sickest society in the free world today. I dare anybody to prove that wrong. Next week, our article is going to be on that, and I'm going to prove to you unequivocally that America is the sickest society in the industrialized world today. And how much has that cost you and me over the last, let's just only go back the last 2 generations? We're talking about untold amounts of money.
Right. And to give people an idea about that, we're not just talking about the medical care that's required.
No.
No. There are a whole lot of other costs, aren't there? How many people with cognitive dysfunctions, physical dysfunctions have caused problems based on the fact, maybe possibly injured other people, had other sort of disorders that have erupted from this, have had deaths, have had interruptions in all sorts of society. You have all kinds of problems that absolutely resonate from this original tuning fork being struck. Okay?
Yes. And to go even further than that, okay, I did an article a while back where I took all of the statistics. Now, basically what I told you all today is that the CDC admits that only 10%, and some would say it's even less than that, of all vaccine damage cases are ever reported as vaccine damage. Because if it occurs a couple of weeks, which it could very easily, we're aware of this, a couple of weeks or a month, it takes to surface itself within that child's body as damage, it might never be related back to that vaccine. If you take all the suffering and death over the last century in this country alone, as a result, a direct result of vaccines, You come up with a number that exceeds the death in any war in modern history. The total exceeds death and suffering, exceeds any war in modern history.
Right.
Tell me again why somebody shouldn't be on trial in a Nuremberg-style trial.
Well, there it is. I mean, the phrase "crimes against humanity" comes to mind, doesn't it?
Well, that's what I quoted, and that's exactly what I meant.
Oh, yeah.
But you need to understand, everybody listening to this, vaccines are not something that is only happening in the United States. We just happen to be the most vaccinated society on the planet. Every other country on this planet is visited by the mechanism of vaccines. Every single one of them. Let's take all of the death, the suffering, the sterility across the entire planet for the last century. I will tell you something else that will blow your mind. You will come up with a number that exceeds every single war in history combined. Wrap your head around that.
Well, right, and that's what we can account for, Roger.
Yes.
There's a whole lot of this that can't be accounted for.
Well, only 10% of damage is ever brought to light. So if the government is saying, and I believe this is, don't quote me exactly on this, and I'll always tell you when I'm not sure, between 95 and 125,000 cases of vaccine damage a year are reported. If that's only 10%, we're talking close to 1.5 million cases of vaccine damage a year. Take that over 100 years. Now, if that's only in the United States, if that isn't a mind-staggering number, what the hell is?
Yeah, effectively, that's approximately half of the population
of this country.
Yep. Yeah, half.
And what they're going to say now in California is, you will get vaccinated or we will come and take your children away. And if you don't let us in the door, we'll use our battering ram, knock your door down, hold you at gunpoint, grab your child, take your child out, vaccinated it. And since we had to raid your house to get your child, DCF is probably going to take your kid away from you and you're never going to get him back. This is where we're at, people. The government is now telling you they have the right to tell you what goes into your body, whether it be food or medicine. Let me go back to what the quote I opened this entire scenario with. If people let government decide what foods they eat and what medicines they take, their bodies will soon be in as sorry a state as are the souls of those who live under tyranny. Thomas Jefferson. Here we are. This is the government our founding fathers warned us about. And if you can't see that, you're an idiot.
Well, and I'll tell you something else, Roger. We really should have been able to predict this with California coming up very soon. Now you say, well, why, Chuck? Just because you have some sort of prejudice? You know why, though? Because what did we see over the past few months? Mainstream elements ramping up the whole agenda regarding vaccination.
And beating the hell verbally out of parents who have the courage to stand up and push back against it. I just published an article about that 4 days ago. About the American population being beat up by the mainstream media for having the courage to step up and say, you're not going to do that to me or my child.
Right. And not only through the news organizations either, Roger. No. See, in entertainment even.
Yes.
Okay? Because I'm going to tell you an example because I actually watched this with my jaw open. Okay? I'm not somebody who spends a whole lot of time watching TV. No. But somebody wanted me to see a recent show from, the NBC. Okay? It's called Law and Order SVU. It's one of the most popular long-running series.
Did you go through detox after that?
I felt like it. Do you know what I'm going to say here?
I have a good feeling. Go ahead.
Okay, so what happens, long and short of it is, that they did an entire episode to make sure that they demonized non-vaxxing parents because they are dangers to other children. Okay? And they even dealt with the argument that we make about, well, listen, if your kids are vaccinated, what are you worried about? Oh, no. See, the whole thing is that there were dual running storylines here, dual running arcs in the story to point out a child that was too young and it was actually sick at the time and couldn't get their vaccinations, so they got, guess what, measles, right? Gee, isn't that a coincidence, right? Of course, remember the whole news thing with the Disney...
Measles is not only not deadly, but it's proven anybody who gets natural measles and goes through the natural cycle of measles builds not only an immunity to measles, but it actually strengthens the immune system to fight against a lot of other diseases.
Well, right, but you see, there's a baby in this one who is now, in critical condition, who has
not with measles, but go ahead.
because of the measles, apparently, because of this big infection.
Which is bullshit. Measles is not deadly.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah,
but you see, the kid has a compromised immune system. Another kid has a compromised immune system who's a little bit older, and you got to feel sorry for them because, the kids that are on chemotherapy and stuff like that, they're easily susceptible to all these diseases, blah, 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 blah. This is what went on the entire episode to make sure that they demonized and prosecuted, and at the end of it, they get this parent for reckless endangerment of children because she would not vaccinate.
Can I jump in, please?
But it was. I got to tell you, I don't even have all the details in my brain, Roger, because the whole time I could feel my adrenaline pumping because I'm sitting there going, I cannot believe this. They're going to utilize every single one of these assets, whether it's in entertainment, information, the mixture of both, the infotainment world, as it were. They're going to go after us in every way, shape, and form to make sure that not only are we wrong, because they made that point. Oh, it's a 1 in a million thing. That point that show. It's a 1 in a million thing. This is ridiculous.
It's the biggest lie you'll ever hear.
Of course, but this isn't science. This is all kooky stuff that you guys find on the internet. All of those counterpoints, points of demonization, straw man arguments of all kinds were all introduced in one TV show.
I know I've got limited time here. Let me give
I'm sorry, Roger. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine, because what you said set me up perfectly, okay? Good. I'm going to give you the counterpoints on that. I'm going to give you 3 situations that most people should be aware of, and if they're not, they can Google it and find out. They can actually go and put in key phrases from what I'm about to tell you on the Liberty Beacon, and you will find these articles right there, okay? The first one I'm going to talk about is a destroyer class naval vessel out of, I believe it was San Diego. Don't exactly tag me on that one. I haven't read the article in quite a while. But it was a southern Navy port in California. The entire crew was vaccinated against the flu. They went on deployment and had to pull back in because 98% of the entire crew was down with a drastic case of the flu. This is a ship that had 98.9% been vaccinated, and the people who had not been vaccinated didn't have the flu. But everybody else on that ship came down with the flu. That's 1, okay? 2, it got splashed all across the mainstream media about the measles coming out of Disney World. Everybody went to Disney World is at risk of getting the measles. Everybody's coming down with the measles. Oh, my God. Okay? What they didn't tell you once it was discovered, what nobody on the mainstream media said, is that the strain of measles that went rampant out of Disney World was from the shedding of the live virus, because you can tag any disease, any virus, as a unique virus. It was the virus that was used in the live virus vaccine, measles vaccine. Everybody who caught that disease from Disney World, okay, it was from a vaccinated individual. And a vast majority of them that came down with the measles had been vaccinated with the measles vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2. Whooping cough. Okay, if you remember in 2014, mid to late 2014, that was out all over the place. Whooping cough this, whooping cough that. You
Right.
got to get vaccinated against whooping cough. Then they found out again by testing the strain and tracing it back that the whooping cough that went virulent across this country was being caused by children who were shedding the disease. If a child gets a whooping cough disease or a measles disease and they cough, they spread that via the droplets whenever you sneeze or cough or whatever that inevitably come out of your mouth. You spread that disease for up to 72 days after you are vaccinated. So the whooping cough that ran rampant across parts of America 8 months ago was traced back to the whooping cough vaccine. The measles was traced back to the measles vaccine. The ship where everybody ended up with the flu so bad they had to pull the ship in was traced back to the flu vaccine. Need I make a bigger point to anybody listening here?
But of course, Roger. It's all about the non-vaccinated people, isn't it? Isn't it all about how dangerous and irresponsible
That
they're
seems
being to
the
their neighbors?
biggest lie ever perpetrated on humanity. And next week, when we go over the other article, I'm going to prove to everybody, prove that vaccines did not cure polio. Now put that in your pipe and smoke it for a week. Because when I bring the proof to you, you're going to go, excuse my French, well, I won't say it. You're going to go, crap.
Right. I know where that's going, and I can't wait to do that. And we are going to discuss, the situation that, bottom line, Big Pharma has caused more death and destruction than all of the wars in history combined, and it hasn't existed nearly as long as war itself.
And they have total immunity from prosecution. They can't be touched. Are you freaking kidding me?
Well, Roger,
Do you think maybe they didn't know this when they lobbied for total immunity?
Roger, the best criminals in the world are those that avoid prosecution, not the ones we catch.
You're not talking about people in the Senate and Congress and the White House, are you?
I might be.
Because they're pretty much immune from a lot of the things that you and I... Hey, insider trading is legal for Congress, for senators and our representatives. It's legal for them to do it. You and I go to prison for a very, very long time, but our leaders are allowed to do it. They have immunity.
Yeah, well, and don't they have immunity from judgment on so many different levels? And, of course, they need to be. They need to be immune, because how else could they collaborate with the larger corporate criminals?
Well, one more fact, and then you're probably going to kick me off the show anyway because I'm about done. Everybody out there seems to think, and I hear this from so many activists, that the military-industrial complex has the largest lobbying power on the Hill in Washington, D.C. Nothing could be further from the truth. As a matter of fact, the pharmaceutical cabal, the pharmaceutical industry spends 5 times, 500% more money than the entire military-industrial complex does on lobbying every year. Who do you think has total immunity? 5 times what the military-industrial complex spends on lobbying.
Well, every once in a while, they do actually catch a military industrial complex-related criminal. Every once in a while, they do. Because they're not immune. Very good.
Blackwater.
Yeah, Blackwater, but, hey, who actually subcontracted them and all of that? And, Roger, I cannot say this enough when I have you on the show. I really do appreciate all of the work you do, and I don't care if you're frothing at the mouth, if you're...
Which I am right now. Hi, Dylan.
Hey, Roger.
And that's the voice of Dylan Wade, who is coming on now for the second hour. But, Roger, I do know that you're a very busy man. And you do grant me this hour once a week, and I do appreciate it.
I enjoy the hell out of it, Chuck. I really do.
I can't find another Roger Landry, to be quite honest with you.
Oh, please don't wish that on the world. Oh, God.
So
Nobody can rant as well.
no, no. Just like nobody really makes a smarmy comment quite like I do. Nobody rants as well as
Well,
Roger.
Chuck, I might be competition for you someday.
Oh,
you
you're getting good, Dylan. You
you are
are.
working on it. You are working on it. But
Everybody needs to remember Dylan is still a young man, as in mid-teens. So when you put that into the equation and you listen to the things he talks about and the knowledge base he has, if that alone doesn't, pretty much put you in a situation of offering respect up to this young man, it should.
oh, I absolutely do. I absolutely do. But to kind of allow you to bow out here, Roger, I just want to say everybody needs to go to the Liberty Beacon. That is the Liberty Beacon, and that's all one word, .com. Check out the article we talked about tonight and all of the other incredible pieces of information, not just written by Roger, a lot of stuff written by Roger, but not just written by Roger. Many, many contributors across the world contribute to the Liberty Beacon because
Yes.
tyranny, of course, is not a uniquely American problem, is it, Roger?
Well, the United States does not have a patent on either tyranny or liberty.
Right. That's exactly what I wanted to hear you say, and I thank you. And again, my friend, and first and foremost, let me say, I only count a very small number of people that I am in contact with all the time as my friend. You are one of them, and I am extremely grateful that you and I have this relationship, and that I am part of the Liberty Beacon projects, and I do believe there will be more projects in the future, and hopefully with a little bit of luck and a little bit of technology cooperating with us, we will have a whole lot more to say very, very soon.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you very much. The feeling is mutual. Have a great day, Dylan. Have a great day, Chuck. Always great. Talk to you
You
soon.
too, Roger.
Thank you, Roger.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Again, Roger Landry. You can find the Facebook page for the Liberty Beacon. Also, there are various groups that Roger belongs to, but the Liberty Beacon and the TLB media group are two things to check out if you're on the social media sites. I believe it's out there on Twitter and a whole lot of other places. Many, many different websites, including the Falling Darkness, including the Middle East Rising, which we had Ariana Love on a few times, and I think I'm going to get her back pretty soon, because I want to talk more about what she experienced in Palestine and things like that, because this is also an important issue. But now I'm going to shift gears, okay? And been a little while since you've actually been on my show, Dylan. Of course, you joined.
No, I was on there Saturday.
You were on my show for a little bit, but you weren't the featured guest.
No.
And of course, the highest form of respect I can offer to anybody is to bring them on my show and let them speak for themselves, okay? Because this is the only little tiny bit of media landscape that I have any sort of control over. So, therefore, if I invite you in on it, I think about it. I bring in college professors. I bring in witnesses to history. I bring in people that are prolific at publishing, who are out there delivering news. Some of the names that I truly respect in alternative media that I have brought on here, the founding mother of alternative media in my estimation, Maria Heller. People like Jack Blood have done this show. The finest among the finest of JFK researchers out there, biographers, like I said before, professors. This is the kind of thing that I bring on, and you, Dylan.
I'm in my own category.
You are in your own category, and I'm glad that you're on with me tonight. So, of course, Roger says, look, he gives his respect to you as well, and so do I, because you at a very young age have decided to speak out, to speak the truth as the title of what you do on various networks. Not sure where you're doing it anymore. I know you're still operating through YouTube. I know you still do the CJ Mars thing, right?
No, there were some problems. I'm no longer with CJ Mars. I'm actually no longer on YouTube. The YouTube account, I no longer have access to it.
No kidding.
I have no access to the channel whatsoever.
Oh, wow. Well, wasn't it connected to a Google address that a Google email account that you had control of?
I don't have control over that anymore.
Oh, my. Did
It,
something personally happen, or?
I have no idea. I tried to log in one day to download something to send to somebody, and I couldn't get in.
Wow. You need to fix that, brother.
Yeah,
Where are you broadcasting now, then?
Awake Radio and People's Internet Radio.
All right. Well, that's cool. At least you still have platforms running.
Yeah, and I'm also in the process of getting my show on Revolution Radio.
Ah, okay, cool. And meanwhile, all this stuff, you leaping from network to network and doing your own thing and everything else, and I'm still sitting at UCY. So I don't know which one of us is smarter, because you're getting all over the planet with this stuff.
Yeah, but I can never keep a consistent area. There's nowhere you can really find my archives. I can't find my archives.
Well, on YouTube, I do know there is a channel that has a lot of your stuff on it. So people,
Yeah, it has about 4 dozen.
so if you want to search on there, and you can even find shows that I've done with Dylan in the past.
Yeah, you can
So-
find my early content.
Right, and you were on Saturday with me for the JFK Myths episode 2.
Yep, and tomorrow I have Carmine coming on.
Oh, that's great, Carmine Savastano, pretty much becoming my partner in crime lately.
That's what he mentioned.
Yeah, I've actually made him an admin on the Ochelli Effect discussion page, and and I'm getting a signal that Barry Prince is listening to us too right now. Thank you, Barry.
Hey, Barry.
I love some of these funny signals and things that I get while I'm on Skype broadcasting. Sometimes I get questions, complaints, comments, you name it. But anyway, what did you think of the JFK Myth show, by the way?
It was good. It was a lot of information you've already shared with me in private, but it was a lot of new stuff too.
Well, and that's the thing. I try and we're pretty much identifying ourselves privately. The private joke is that we're the four horsemen of the mythology in the JFK case. Because
that's what he mentioned too.
Yeah, we are signaling the apocalypse for them. That's what we're doing. And believe me, that was part 2. I actually have in my mind at least 10 parts. Okay,
to a myth show,
to the JFK Myths series. Yes.
Oh boy.
Now, I have never tried to focus on JFK in general on my show. I do bring it up a lot because it's one of my areas of interest. It does come up a lot during interviews and things. But the fact is, I have tried to give a lot of variety here, because history and current events both are very near and dear to me. Because this is the thing, understanding the realities of the world around you and having the truth brought to you is very, very important. Most recently, by the way, a little bit of progress was made on a personal situation for me. And when I break this one out, people, you're going to hear me harangue about something that is really personal to me, has nothing to do with the JFK assassination, that has something to do directly with government lies as it relates to my own family.
Is this the thing you and I talked about in our second or third discussion?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
And actually progress being made, and credit where credit's due. Carmine actually helped me to find something. So
would you, after the show, would you mind giving me the rundown?
Well, I won't be able to, because I'll have to jump right off, because Kim's got to go run next door, so I got to go grab the baby who's out there giving her a hell of a time. I can hear it through the wall. I hope everybody at home, everybody listening can't hear it, but he's out there throwing fits. So I'm going to have to go grab Frankie. But anyway, Dylan, I have sat here and I have BS'd and I've run my mouth. But you did stick around for the JFK Myths Part 2. I was sad that you didn't make it for Part 1, because you were the one, actually, once I said I wanted to do this show, that kept pushing me for when is it going to be, when is it going to be. But you did make it for Myths 2, and then you stuck around for Jaded, which, slightly different animal from this show, wouldn't you say?
Slightly different. That's putting it very mildly.
Oh, and by the way, apparently I have been told that alcohol will be delivered to me on my Saturday night show while I'm on air, and that means that by the time the 10 o'clock hour rolls around,
I'm gonna stick around for this.
Chuck with sodium pentothal in his system will be on air. So, okay.
You're not gonna give me and Daniel room to jump in.
I don't know what's going to happen, Dylan. So right after I'm done talking to Renegade Smith and apparently drinking some alcohol, then that'll happen. All right. So just imagine that setup.
That's gonna be great. I don't think I've ever seen you completely loaded.
And also my fondest wishes and hope for the best recovery possible for Leap here from Truth Emerges Radio, by the way, who was earlier today, I believe, released from the hospital. So,
not good.
Just reminded myself to bring that one up. But anyway, Dylan, before I run my mouth for the whole time,
you could do it too.
Sometimes I can. Sometimes I have the energy. Today would be one of those days, but I'm going to try to shut up. Because here we go in another series. Which
I've been waiting for 2 weeks.
Well, look, since you did not bring me the part 2 to that debate with your friend Colton there.
I've got it still. It's like 3 hours, though.
Yeah, but I wanted him to come on my show. I was not unfair to him or anything, and he refuses to come on my show now. And I was kind to him. I let him plug his neocon crap and everything, man. I didn't even give him a hard time. You know.
I gave him a hard enough time this time.
Well, I hope so, because the first time was...
No, the first time was fine. You got the second time.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yes, you got the second debate we've had. The first one, I don't know. It went either way.
See, and the first one sounded interesting to me, which is what brought me to bring, it caused me to bring you on. And
where I got my butt kicked in a debate that should have been easy. Yep.
And I mean, even you got to say, although you were on the losing end, you got to say I was being fair to both of you.
Oh, yeah.
See, that's the thing. I can extract myself from the situation and become the the moderator if I want to.
And even though I was in the debate, I can admit I lost.
And one of those JFK myth shows that's going to come up, believe it or not, we're toying with the idea of bringing on 2 people that absolutely believe that the Warren Commission had it right.
Yeah, Carmine mentioned that. Good luck.
Oh, yeah, but we're willing to do it. Let the audience decide who's actually pushing the myth. Anyway, so let's put all that stuff aside because that's what it is. It's just, it is what it is. And, and Carmine's a great guy. Carmine Savastano from Neapolis Media Group, who, has become sort of my social networking partner in crime. Thank you, brother.
He's hooking me up with people to do radio shows on my network. So.
Oh yeah. He's going to be more than happy to assist you. Anyway, but let's put all that aside because it is now time for what in the hell is wrong with the history class, I want to call it. Because, Dylan, and you know what, this might be the last time we do it on here. If you're going to bring it on the Kim show from now on.
I'm going to bring on repeats. So everything I say on yours, I'm going to say on hers because it's different listeners. And I'm sure they'll appreciate it too.
You know what? Okay, if that's how you're going to do it, then it's got to come through me first, okay?
It does come through you first. Don't worry, Chuck.
Okay. I'll even compete with Kim. Okay.
It started on yours. It's gonna stay there.
Awesome. All right. So, for those of you that don't know, of course, Dylan is 16, and that makes you what year in high school?
Junior.
You're a junior in high school. And I always forget. I keep thinking that that's a sophomore thing, but
it is a sophomore thing. I'm a year ahead.
Yeah, I get confused because during one of my high school years, I was not available to go to public high school. So I always get confused because I graduated at the age of 19. Anyway, But the thing is, when we talk about this and we get into the history class and what goes on, it is always remarkable to me, one way or another, exactly what happens. So, tell me first of all, give me the setup, what you were discussing, what started happening in the class, and then we'll go from there.
There was a video that he showed us. It was our current event day. It was I think the last day before spring break, or the week before. And he played a video about ISIS. And the chaos began.
Wait a minute. Run that by me one more time.
He played a video about ISIS.
Okay. Now, what kind of video about ISIS? I mean, was it just a bunch of news reports and things? I mean, did you have...
It was a compilation of what they've been doing in the past year. And there go my dogs.
It's all right. It's all right. So what you're telling me is you got like the ISIS highlight reel from 2014/2015?
Yes.
Oh, lovely.
It was excellent. So they played some... I'm sorry about that.
No, I understand.
There was a instance where they showed Arabic language.
Okay.
Harmless, right?
Right.
After the video, this kid in the class says, I got a message on the internet once that was in that language. Is ISIS going to come capture me and sell me to the Russians or shoot me?
Wait a minute. Random kid is now afraid that the boogeyman's going to come and get him?
Yeah, because she saw Arabic language on the internet.
And she's like your age. Because she saw the Arabic language. So she's well programmed. Is she your age?
Yes.
Okay. So she has completely accepted the programming that the boogeyman speaks Arabic.
No, she's accepted the programming that all people in Arabic are the boogeyman.
Okay, so you're putting it in a slightly different vernacular, but it's the same thing. I mean, basically, the boogeyman speaks Arabic, so therefore I should be afraid of the boogeyman who is Arabic, and now Arabic is evident, therefore, okay?
Yes.
Feel better? All right.
So I was trying to figure out where we were.
Yeah, no problem. I'm trying to figure out where I am. And this is where my right hand literally does you had a V8 freaking stomp on my forehead where you hear this noise. Okay? That's what I'm doing right now. All right? There we go. That is me hitting my own forehead with my right hand, with the palm of my right hand specifically. But let me not interrupt you. I'm sorry, Dylan. Go ahead.
Okay, and today, this is a new one. I never thought I'd see it. We had some homework last night on slavery in the North.
Okay, so wait a second. So slavery in the northern part of the United States, which is often not focused on in history classes, that actually slavery did exist all over the country. And then, of course, the secession movement that occurred and all the issues there, although they try to tell you that was the main thrust for the Civil War, really wasn't. There was a lot of other factors involved, but this is one of the consequences of the Civil War, et cetera, et cetera. So they obviously covered, like, say, the Emancipation Proclamation.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, you didn't get there yet. So how what happened?
The initial stages of slavery in the North, and today we covered New Jersey.
Okay, so and let's bring it home to the home state because you're from New Jersey, and they want to talk about abolition and the evolution of the abolition movement. Maybe they're that far?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
So we're not even there yet in the class. We get in, and one kid says, "I have a bone to pick with you. New England is not in the United States. It is on another continent."
Wait. Had a bone to pick with who? You or the teacher?
The teacher. Because she was trying to say New England was not in the United States.
All right, so let me get this straight. Bell rings, everybody is piled in already. You know, straggler walks in, whatever, this kind of scene.
No, the straggler is everybody but 3 kids.
All right, and you're already waiting, right?
I'm waiting before the bell. I'm waiting before the bell rings for the next period. I'm sitting in the dark when everyone else is coming in. I'm there before the teacher.
You're probably given special hall privileges so you can leave class like a minute or two early, that kind of thing?
Yeah, because people walk into me and get run over and then yell at me for running into them.
Right, because you're in a wheelchair, so therefore, okay, I got it. That's cool. I'm just trying to set the scene. So you sit there, you wait, you watch them pile in. There's a couple of stragglers come in. So after the stragglers have settled in, the teacher's getting ready to teach class. A kid pipes up and says this, or what
Yes,
line?
that's what the kid says. I've got a bone to pick with you. Yes, what? She says, New England is not part of the United States.
Okay. And the teacher does what?
Yes, it is. It's in the north. It's Boston, Massachusetts, Connecticut. No. She says, no, it's Germany, Spain, and Britain. That is New England. And it was after the Revolutionary War when Britain was defeated by the United States and we took over. Okay.
Whoa, whoa,
That,
whoa, 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 whoa.
she thought we took over Britain in the Revolutionary War.
Britain, Germany, and Spain.
Yes.
Okay, so let me get this straight. This girl believes that an area of land referred to as New England is actually a series of European nations which were sort of annexed by the process of the Revolutionary War by the United States and became New England.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm following this insanity. Oh, man. Okay. So at this point, does the teacher pull out a map?
The map's on the board.
The map's there.
And he points to it.
Is
He
it a
says,
world map or is it a U.S. map?
World map. And he points to this little area in the U.S., Connecticut, Connecticut, Massachusetts. I can't talk.
No problem.
You know what New England is. Everyone here knows what New England is.
Right, in the Northeast.
Yes, of the United States.
The northeastern portion of the continental United States is called New England.
And he says, like the New England Patriots. And she says, wait, I thought the New England Patriots were a British team. I mean, I was always wondering why they played in the U.S.
Okay. Well, look, not knowing sports is one thing.
Yeah, but I understand not knowing sports. I don't know sports. But it just goes along with the whole thing. And this took up a good 10-15 minutes, these two arguing.
Of course it does. And you got a 40-minute class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. so completely, nearly a third, between a quarter and a third of the class is taken up with this.
Yes.
Okay. And this is before, no wait, ISIS video was another day.
ISIS video was the last day of school before spring break, and this is today.
All right. What followed this?
3 other kids jumping in and agreeing with the girl.
You're kidding me.
No, I wish. I wish I was joking, but no. 3 other kids jumped in and agreed. I was in the minority.
Did they accept the idea that possibly the teacher might understand or might be speaking of or might be able to explain their own reference to an area called New England? I mean, is that a possibility? I mean, did they finally acquiesce?
No, the debate continued throughout the class at different points, because a couple of the questions on there were, first, the second question was about the New England colonies, and then the next one was New England. If you didn't know America, then if you didn't know the country, I can understand why you're confused by that.
Well, no. Look, if you were taking a class in I don't know,
Asia.
If you were in okay, fine. If you were in Tajikistan and somebody said New England,
they might get confused.
You might say, well, that's probably because England is in the title, so therefore maybe it's something to do with England, and that would be a sort of a logical thing to understand. But you mean to
If
tell
you
me?
were in one state away.
Yeah, well, that kind of helps. But
We're one or two states away from New England.
right,
Come on, you know what New England is.
but you got to pass through New York to get to Connecticut briefly, at the very least. But uh, I mean, in most cases, I don't know. Maybe there is a direct path. I don't think there is, but either
I
way,
don't
I
know.
mean, look,
It doesn't matter.
no,
We're right there.
right. I mean, it's. They don't know where New England is. Okay, so
That's not the worst one of the. Well, that's not the worst one, actually.
oh God. All right, what else?
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz.
His presidential announcement was on one of our current event things.
This teacher is a glutton for punishment because every time he runs one of these current event videos, what ensues is a gauge for like the insanity and ignorance among his students. His pupils begin to go, I don't understand nothing. I think aliens help the Republicans or whatever. I mean, Barack Obama hates black people. Okay. So during a week when Hillary Clinton formally announced, and Ted Cruz is out there saying that he is actually going to, sock puppet. I mean, run for the alleged presidency of the alleged formerly United States. Ted Cruz, who is allegedly a Republican, is announcing, and this was part of the current events discussion because he had some sort of video put together which showed that event. What happened?
He doesn't put the videos together, but regardless,
I want to know who does.
I'll send you a link. I don't remember the name.
Oh, so he gets this like from a service of some kind, probably.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So some scholastic service. See, when I was a kid, we used to have this thing called a weekly reader.
Yeah, I don't know what those are. Sorry.
It's okay. I'll tell you what it was because
It was a newspaper.
long before we had these newfangled computers and stuff.
Why is your old man Southern?
Because I'm sitting in North Carolina. Okay.
Fair enough.
But anyway, back to it. Before you had these computers, okay, there you go, better. All right, now. Before all that, there used to be this, like, say, 4 pages of newsprint.
Newspaper.
Yeah, of newspaper.
I was screwing with you.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Okay, so yeah, he's a glutton for punishment. I don't get it.
I unless it's like part of the required curriculum, I would just
stop.
Yeah,
I would stop.
All it does is sidetrack and cause. I mean, I would be so depressed. I don't know if I'd overeat or if I'd have to drink after school or.
I imagine he has a glass of wine under his desk for after we leave.
No, I don't think that. I wouldn't say that, but I would have to go home and just lock my doors and try and put my car keys in a difficult to reach place or give them to a friend. Because no matter what I'm going to do once I get home and am able to decompress from this, I would have to do something to dull my senses a little bit. I mean, and he could overeat or drink or smoke or something. I mean, I would need it after this.
Okay, so this is, I think,
I
think this is the worst one I've ever heard out of this class.
Oh no! So back to it, and just to remind everybody, in case my ranting caused people to misunderstand where we're at. So part of the current event video that is played at the top of the class all the time, despite the fact that it's probably ill-advised. Part of that current event video is about how Ted Cruz has announced his candidacy for presidency of the United States in 2016. Okay. So your class sees this, and what is their reaction?
You ready for this?
I'm trying to be.
I don't think it can be, but so Ted Cruz, after the video, somebody in the class jumps up, God knows why. It's the same one tip. That's like the same four typically.
Wait a minute, is this the same girl with the New England thing?
No, this is the no. This is the one. No, this is the one with the talking apes on Mars.
Oh, like why can't you use your cell phone? And
Yeah.
oh, okay, okay. Well,
I think she has a fascination with aliens.
oh no, is this the one who thought that the aliens had assisted the Republicans, off-world creatures had assisted Republicans in winning Congress recently?
Yes, and this is also the one who believes Barack Obama is causing the genocide of African Americans, but would also like to vote for Barack Obama again.
Yes, and despite the fact that this individual is part of the supposed target of Cousin Barry there, right?
Yeah.
So this person is African American, or at least appears to be, and
Yes.
is stating that that Barack Obama is fully into the idea of committing genocide against black people and all of that, but still wants to wishes that they were old enough to vote for him, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just checking to make sure I'm keeping my scorecard correct, Dylan, because
You need one.
none of this makes any sense. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm just as confused at this one.
All right, I'm sorry. So again, I'm sorry again because I sidetracked again.
Okay, so it's two.
Reaction,
It's twofold.
right, but this is the reaction to the Ted Cruz announcement for his candidacy for, POTUS in 2016, President of the United States. Okay, what is it?
It's twofold,
Okay.
and it's very interesting. One, Ted Cruz was kidnapped by aliens, and the man in the video is not Ted Cruz. It is a body snatcher.
Okay, so we have an imposter Ted Cruz
Yes.
who has, like, a la that Simpsons episode when Clinton and Dole got stolen by the green aliens, has now been doubled and replaced.
Yes.
Okay, just checking. Yeah.
Okay, and that's one.
That's one thing that's going on. Is that what? Can I ask what did this person give you a reason for why they think this? I mean, did they say
they said his face looked a little different.
Okay, so this is facial recognition in their brain. Is that from their observations of Ted Cruz in the past, he does not look like himself, and therefore is a doppelganger of some sort who is a little bit imperfect, and therefore they have caught on to the ruse that he has been switched for this alien copy.
Yes,
Is that right?
and here's number two from the same person right afterwards. So Ted Cruz's agenda is to take the presidency and then convince everybody to go into UFOs where they will be experimented on, raped, and murdered.
So it is a cookbook. Oh,
Yes.
man. Okay. So
There is very much wrong with that.
the fraudulent Ted Cruz, who was placed here by aliens, has been placed here for the purpose of convincing the American people especially, right,
Yes.
to voluntarily go along with other aliens, so that they can be experimented upon, raped, and murdered by said aliens.
Yes.
Okay, so at this point, has your teacher hung himself yet?
It takes a lot of willpower not to. I guarantee it.
I might have to go into the boys' room and drown myself if I was him. I really might, because I would realize that I am doing no good.
Well, I don't know how much you can help these people, to be honest.
No, I get that, and I get that kind of thing all the time, and I understand, people that think that, Barack Obama is a Muslim, and therefore, he's responsible for everything Muslims do across the planet because he signals them in secret and all that.
Well, I was arguing with somebody who, in the same breath, called him an atheist and a Muslim.
Yeah, why not? Of course.
Okay. That makes sense. And
Sure,
that, yeah, okay.
sure. Why not? But Dylan, here's got to be the kicker. And I never heard any of this. I mean, I did not ask you these questions beforehand. I'm hearing this for the first time, right?
Correct.
Okay, let me ask you something. What was the reaction
From the
from?
class.
Well, first, let me get the teacher's reaction. Did you notice the teacher's reaction? I mean, did he
Um,
just crawl under his desk and disappear?
uh, First, he went over to his desk and hit his head against the cabinet,
Okay,
which I think is a perfectly reasonable
no,
reaction.
completely appropriate response. Yes. Uh,
And
okay, yeah,
and then he tried to reason with her, which was his second mistake.
okay. Can you even describe? Because I think I might have been in a little bit of shock if I heard that uh, from anybody that I thought had an IQ above room temperature. But being that as it may, tell me something. Uh,
Yes.
did you? Wow.
Did I say anything?
No. Did you follow him trying to reason with this individual? Because
Yes, I did.
okay, what happened?
He asked her what proof he had. Very reasonable thing.
Reasonable thing. Generally, when people make wild assertions, I always want to know exactly what the evidence is. It's usually a prerequisite to anybody introducing a sort of out of the norm, out of the typical idea. You want to give me the wildest theory possible. I want to know what your proof is, and I can provide you with theories all day if I don't require any proof. So
So could I.
sure. So you might ask somebody, well, what is your proof for coming to that conclusion? Can you show your work?
And what was her reaction?
Tell me.
It wasn't even her reaction that disappointed me. It was the rest of the class. Because 6 of them propped up and said she was right.
Agreed with her without even any evidence.
And proceeded to argue with the teacher when he asked for evidence.
Oh, because it's a bad thing to ask for evidence about a out of the ordinary conclusion.
Yes, and then I jumped in, and that was fun.
Oh, what did you say?
I said that's the stupidest thing I've heard since I got to this school.
You better watch. Somebody's going to be waiting for you in the parking lot, man. Okay.
Although, can you disagree?
No, I don't disagree at all. I just worry for your safety with people that have that kind of thought process. I mean,
I can't really blame you.
I might, if I were in a room like that and I had people that were, age appropriate to me making statements like that, I might actually be quiet because I don't want to provoke unstable people.
But Chuck, I have too big of a sense of adventure.
I guess so. Wow. Okay. So he proceeds to ask for evidence, and of course he's done something wrong by asking for evidence of this wild conspiracy theory. Okay.
And then the rest of the class. Luckily, I wasn't alone on this. I had one other person back me up.
Oh, that's good. Somebody else who wanted evidence?
Yes, somebody else who wanted evidence. It was me, the teacher, and another kid against the rest of the class.
Nice. Okay. So what happened after the evidence was, no, I don't need evidence. It sounds good. What happened after that?
They proceeded to tell me that the entire world, every world leader was a different alien species, and that they were all in an intergalactic war for the United States. Because why not?
Oh, see. This I could blame on David Icke, but I don't think they could follow him.
I don't think they know who David Icke is.
No, I don't think so. And entertaining as he may be, it could be much lesser evolved individuals who follow his work that have pushed this scenario out into the world somehow or other, and it has somehow resonated with your
With the majority of my class.
with the majority of your class, but a lot of people in your age group, because I take them as a valid sample.
Oh, please don't do that.
I have to, Dylan. You got to realize that you're a whole lot more aware than a lot of adults in some cases.
I
But
know, but I don't want to accept that.
I know you don't want to accept it because you'll likely have to have relationships with these individuals, for the remainder of your life because they will
It
be
will
your
probably be the
contemporaries.
only reason. It'll probably be the other reasonable one that I even attempt to talk to.
Right, but I'm just saying that at some point or other, you're going to have to, make peace with your contemporaries, do business with them, have relationships with them, or something. So that's going to happen. And
Hmm. I don't know how I'm gonna have. I don't know how I'm gonna have a reasonable conversation with them.
excuse me, listen to that groan that just came out of you when I said that. That was real right there. Like, oh, like, really? Is that what that means? Happen. See, now you're sounding like me. Because this is frustrating. What is wrong with kids, man?
I want to say this isn't all of them, but
But it's most of them. Okay.
um, I just think I found an especially stupid class.
I don't know. I don't
I'll
know.
be able to tell you better next year.
Uh,
I'll
well,
have a new class.
what if it gets worse? Then what will you think?
I might go. I might just go somewhere where there's no human contact. I'll leave civilization
Uh,
because
so,
I don't know how I would even have a reasonable conversation with any of them.
oh my God. Uh, I am hanging my head. I am hanging my head. I am worried about the next generation because of the things that you're reporting to me. I want you to know that. Oof.
Have they topped themselves?
Oh, wait a minute. Is Ted Cruz like the final part of your report this week, or do you have something else?
I have something else.
Oh God.
It's not worse. Don't worry.
All right, because you know what? There's less than 20 minutes left to the show, and I hesitate to ask you to go further about what is wrong with this history class, but
So
go
German,
ahead.
the German wings flight.
Well, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. You mean this recent crash into the
Yeah.
mountain?
Yep.
The latest plane spotting incident in CNN's repertoire, the amazing disappearing, crashing, eroding, planescaping individuals out there that bring about people like Richard Quest to be an aviation correspondent, whose head I still say is shaped quite a bit like a potato. This
Yes.
guy who is suddenly an expert on aviation, all of these airplane pilots who try and explain different things, the discussions of mental disorders, have people decided to suicide themselves, and what was their agenda? Did they decide to commit murder and suicide? Were people banging on cabin doors? This is what we're talking about, right?
Yep.
And this was
Ready?
played as part of the current events video also, I'm imagining?
Yes.
Again,
Okay.
why does this teacher do this to himself?
Are you ready for this?
Oh, God. Is it aliens again, Dylan? Okay. I won't ask any more questions.
No, it's not aliens.
Oh. Oh, no. Oh, okay, okay.
I can hear the fear in your voice.
Because I'm literally gripping the edge of the desk now. Go ahead.
Ready?
You know what? Just like, surgery during the Civil War, I will take my shot.
All right, here we go.
I swallowed the medicine and go ahead with the hacksaw.
All right, so Andrew Lubwitz, who was the co-pilot who crashed it.
Right, the allegedly suicidal co-pilot who had, according to his girlfriend, anger issues, who wasn't allowing the actual pilot to get back in after he decided to go to the bathroom into the cockpit. This guy, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just to clarify, before we go into the Twilight Zone, I figure I should set it up much like a alternative media Rod Serling. So there you go.
Here we go.
Do. Yep. All right. Sorry.
I don't know if this takes the cake. You're gonna have to judge it.
Oh, you judge for yourselves, listeners. This may actually take the cake. Okay. Good. I'm sorry.
It might. So Andrew Lubowitz, the co-pilot, was one of the hijackers on 9/11, according to these guys, and he was also the pilot on MH370, Reborn, because the gods wanted more plane crashes.
Dylan, you have to be making this up. Come on.
I'm not. I swear.
Oh, okay.
I could see the disappointment. I didn't even have to look. I didn't even have to listen. I could see the disappointment.
Okay, let me try and dissect this. You're telling me that after part of your current events video went by about the plane crash, that there are individuals in your class who are stating, "Oh, I know what all that means. The 9/11 hijacker was reborn or reincarnated somehow to the MH370 pilot
who was reincarnated.
Who was again reincarnated most recently as this pilot on the German airliner."
Yes.
And nobody even gave a wisp of a thought to the idea that it was only 14 years ago that
9/11
happened, and this would be a 14-year-old pilot. But wait, there's more. It was only last year that the other plane disappeared, and therefore you have an infant
13.
pilot. You have an infant pilot. Now, an infant pilot on the German airliner, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's kind of how reincarnation would work if you're reborn into another baby.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just checking because...
I know.
So even the logical fallacies in their own conspiracy theory don't slow them down.
I don't even know if they notice it, to be honest.
Wow.
So, what do you think? Does that take the cake? Or what about the intergalactic war between Ted Cruz, Vladimir Putin, Barack Obama, the Ayatollah? Which takes the cake?
I don't know. Flip a coin. That's something. That's something. The intergalactic war, if you allow for a whole lot of different possibilities, if you
possible.
If you deny certain realities, you might be able to get away with that one. But how you're reincarnated, 3 times in 14 years,
and still old enough to fly.
Still old enough to fly. That one is a head scratcher to me. That's a head scratcher. Again.
So here's the teacher's reaction.
Yeah. Okay.
he says, "Yep, I'm done," and he walks out, and he comes back.
Again, completely appropriate reaction from your teacher. So. I mean, what else happened out of that? I mean, he walks out, comes back in, and what? They just dropped it?
No. No, they continued the whole time he was out.
Wow.
This time, people were a little more reasonable.
Okay.
It was about half the class who disagreed and half the class who agreed.
Well, an improvement.
A large improvement. What do we need to do to get 2/3 to disagree?
I don't know. But when I say that I am extremely worried, and people try to tell me how much smarter the next generation coming up is because they know how to handle their iPhones and things, and they're good with their tablets and they're good with their computers, I understand that. But when I hear stuff like this, I go, No, they may know how to manipulate their fingers so that the pretty lights and things come on, and they might be good at Candy Crush, but
Their brains don't work.
the brain has checked out. They left the lights on because their eyes are still open, but no one is occupying the house. Okay? Okay. Man, oh man. All right. Well, let's give them some hope for one of your contemporaries being yourself. You're still doing your shows.
Yes.
You're still going after real evidence and conclusions, and you're having an interesting time of it. You're trying to get some people that have been on this show. You have had some other people who've been on this show. You're going to have Daniel Lewis Crumpton on again soon too.
That is the idea.
All right, so Daniel Lewis Crumpton and Carmine Savastano will be coming up on your next few broadcasts, hopefully. And who else is coming up?
Carmine Savastano will be on with me tomorrow.
He'll be on with you tomorrow, okay. And what is that, Awake Radio?
Yes.
Uh-huh. What time?
4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern.
4 to 6 Eastern, okay. That's cool. DL Crumpton you haven't set up with, but soon, right?
Soon.
Okay. Who else is coming up?
Hopefully you.
Here we go again. Another guy who's going to ask me to be on a show on the air. I'm doing something with the Wind Network tomorrow because Bobby Biesinger asked me to be on his show when he was on my show. So you know, we will work that out, Dylan. You let me know when, and you know I'll make time for you somehow or other, provided I'm not broadcasting or something at the time that you need.
And provided I don't have any more stories.
No, bring your stories. It's fine. Are
you sure you don't want to discontinue those?
No, because it hammers home the point to me that, that cognitive dysfunction is a reality, and you know what? This is an even better argument for my anti-vaccine position, because look at what is being produced. Ay, ay, ay. And, and we could talk about the toxic state of New Jersey, and we could talk about the power lines, and we could talk about the water, and we could talk about Ciba Geigy. We could talk about...
Can we just do a show on New Jersey?
That will take some preparation, my friend. But we can do it. We can do it, because now that I've escaped the boundaries of that state, at least for the time being...
I'll be doing it again. I'll be doing it shortly.
Oh, well, I wish you luck on any travels you do take to give you at least a breather from the toxicity of the wonderful former colony of the United States, New Jersey, one of the original colonies. Wow. Not quite part of New England, though. Not quite. Nearby, but not quite, regardless of the fact that some of your contemporaries seem to believe that it is actually part of Europe that was annexed by the United States post-Revolutionary War. Okay. I can't believe I just uttered that sentence.
I know you're mad at yourself.
Kind of, because I imagine someday somebody taking things I say out of context and making me sound like a lunatic, and that is a lot of these stories will do that, because when I recap and recount, exactly what it is you're talking about. This is this is certainly one of those instances where if you took it out of context, you could make me sound like a raving lunatic, which, not saying your classmates are lunatics. They're just...
They are.
Extremely ill-informed and quite captivated by aliens.
And reincarnated pilots.
Reincarnation and wild conspiracy theories that lack any sort of evidence whatsoever. So not a big surprise out there when they still think the limo driver shot Kennedy, and not a big surprise out there when they actually believe that 19 Arabs with box cutters brought down the World Trade Center towers, and so on and so on. And
I can't wait for this class to have a 9/11 discussion.
When they do, we may require 2 full hours to dissect what happened.
I will let you know.
Oh, I I half want to say don't tell me, but I want you to.
I know you do. You're a glutton for punishment.
Sure, I am. Much like your history teacher, and one day I will buy that man a beer if I get a chance. I assure you that. And you may not understand why I'm saying that, Dylan, but trust me.
No, I do.
Okay, cool.
I get it.
So in the last 5 minutes or less here,
Any statements I made during this show are not my thoughts.
no, I didn't even ask you what you thought about it because it was just so ridiculous. I mean, I'm not, I couldn't talk to you if you thought this way. I just,
I know you couldn't.
I
What?
pat you on the head and give you a cookie. That's about all I would do.
Give me a cookie.
I'd give you a cookie. Because it's like trying to reason with Frankie, because you can't. I might as well just give him a cookie and say, okay. Because that's about all I'm going to get right now. He can't talk yet. Anyway.
He can't?
No, not yet. He can't talk. He's starting to walk, though. Starting to walk, but he can't talk. Anyway. He makes noise. He makes lots of them. But
I don't know. I hear it.
Yeah, you've heard it many times off the air. I try to keep it away from the mic when I'm on the air, but occasionally bleeds in.
So, none of the stuff that I have said during this show is anything close to my opinions.
Dylan wishes to duplicate his disclaimer from earlier. And, of course, none of the statements or the conclusions made on this show have anything to do with my opinion, the opinion of this network, or any reality whatsoever. So, thank you.
Sir, I had to. I did not want people thinking that I believed in a reincarnated pilot and an intergalactic war. As fun as all that sounds.
No, and the intergalactic war is definitely the most plausible of the scenarios, so there you go.
That's sad when an intergalactic war is the most plausible thing they've said.
Well, like I said that time that you explained, when the one of your classmates asked if the English won the Revolutionary War, and things like that, I said, well, that's almost a reasonable question, Dylan. But of course, it didn't come from a reasonable place. It just coincidentally went along with.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
You got it. So it sounds like something I would say.
I'm becoming too much like you. This is scaring me.
Well, it's weird too because we're talking less and less lately, but you're still kind of mimicking me off and on, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, we still talk often.
Yeah, kinda, but let's see. Ay, ay, ay.
You're gonna have to tell me about that progress.
Yeah, I will. I definitely will, and believe me, it's going to take up a whole show. But listen, last 2 minutes, so I want to thank everybody who decided to tune into the Ochelli Effect tonight, for April 14th, 2015. My first hour guest, of course, was Roger Landry of the Liberty Beacon. That is the Liberty Beacon, all one word.com. My second hour guest to frighten and worry me about the next generation coming up was Dylan Wade, who is with me. And Dylan Wade, of course, is the host of The Truth Speaks, which you can find in a lot of different locations, etc. Et
trust me, this isn't what I talk about. I'm far more reasonable.
No, generally speaking, you kind of do the same sort of show that I do, which is kind of just have a conversation and sort of let the facts and the realities flow from it with interesting characters of many different stripes. And you have had several guests that I haven't had. Don't let anybody think that that you only have the same guests that I do, because you do have some in common with me, but you also do your own thing. You've had a lot of different people on. I can't think off the top of my head, but the guy who was informing you about the Bush crime family and things like that.
And the globalist.
Right. You've had different people on about the globalist agenda.
No, the guy was a globalist.
Oh, I'm sorry, the globalist guy who supports the idea of the New World Order concept and thinks it would be a good thing for humanity, and depopulation would also be a positive. That guy, no, not been a guest on my show, but
I'll give you Skype info.
Okay, I'll okay.
You're a glutton for punishment. You'll enjoy it.
Why not? And I did try to get in touch with Amon Bundy this week, but seems as though I can't get in touch with him right at the moment. But who knows? Maybe he'll be coming up very, very soon on this show. Later on this week, as I said before, Carmine Savastano on Thursday. And, of course, Renegade Smith will be on Saturday. God knows what the hell will happen on Jaded. And next week is an open book still. So,
I'll be here for...
Stars